Football free cheat sheet printable. Let's review free fantasy football cheat sheets that are printable. You can ignore DraftKings. You don't want to use theirs. Let's look at ESPN. I know I'm going to be disappointed. I did this review last year and it was terrible, and I don't expect it's going to be any good this year just because they don't need to invest in this sort of thing. They're ESPN. People are going to show up here and no matter what. So right off the bat, you see cheat sheet. They've got their celebrities, and as I mentioned, celebrity cheat sheets are worthless. They're not adjusted to you. Just ignore them. I'll explain why a little bit later. So here are the options at ESPN. You've got a PPR cheat sheet, non-PPR cheat sheet. What's that? I think they used to call that standard. So, and then custom dollar value generator, that's for auction drafts. And that's about it. They got a dynasty cheat sheet down here, but chances are you're going to want the one of the top PPR positional cheat sheets. So let's take a look at that and be disappointed. Yes, it is exactly the same as it was last year. Why is this so bad? I explained that in my article here, but I'll review it. So if you want to, it's right at the top. There's the review from last year. I won't say everything. I will go to the bottom of this article, and this is why it's bad. These are the 8 things that make a cheat sheet good. Printable cheat sheets meet these 8 things. I will give them an A+. So let's just start with number 1, tier. What is tier? I think you probably have heard of that now. It's becoming a more common term. Tier represents things like a grouping or a cluster. So if I look here at, let's say these 2 quarterbacks are in tier 1, and then these quarterbacks are in tier 2. That means that Tom Brady is in the same tier with Deshaun Watson, and they're the same. Just because Tom Brady is going later doesn't mean that he's worse. If they're in the same tier, then they're the same player. So no tiers, no good. This does not have tiers. So if they had nice little boxes like the ones I just drew all over this, then you'd be in business. What's next? Hot or cold? So hot or cold, what is a player going to start like in the beginning of the season? So let's take a look at the wide receivers. Michael Thomas is number 1, 2, 3. You can see here. You probably want to know whether or not your receiver is going to start out the first few games hot or cold. If they have their toughest opponents in the first few games, you could easily end up being 0-2 after a couple of games, and then you're stuck with whoever that person is. So if Michael Thomas comes out, falls on his face for the first 2 games, you're not going to be able to trade him away, and you're going to be 0-2, and your season is over. You need to know whether or not a player is going to start hot or cold. Customized point forecast. This is a PPR cheat sheet. So that's the only customization you get. So it doesn't have any customization for the number of teams in your league. It doesn't have any customization for the different amount of points you might, other than a point per reception. So every league can adjust their points up and down for yardage, for touchdowns, etc. And it doesn't have any of that sort of customization. That's critical. Customized Vbd forecast. Vbd is based upon your teams, so it'll adjust based upon the number of teams in your league and the number of players at a position. So if your league starts three wide receivers, then wide receivers will be more valuable. If your league starts three running backs, likewise, and these values will be adjusted. So this is the ADP here, and these numbers represent a standard league. So you don't want to use ADP if you're in a league where you're not standard. These numbers will lead you astray, because if you start three wide receivers in your league, then this is probably set for two wide receivers and these numbers are too low. The numbers in parentheses. Customized, customized, customized. This is what we just talked about, customized ADP. It's got to be based upon the number of players, number of teams in your league. Customized sleepers and duds, also not here. So you can see if you knew the ADP, which you do, then you're part of the way there. If you had a customized ADP along with a consensus ADP, this is the consensus ADP, so McCaffrey's number 1, obviously. Saquon's 2, Ezekiel's 3, but your customized ADP might say that Ezekiel is actually 6. And so that would make Ezekiel a dud. Even though he's in the top tier, he's still a dud, because according to your customized point forecast, he's a dud. And likewise, it might show if you're in a 6 point per touchdown league. All this can change for quarterbacks. So Lamar Jackson might go from being the 6th overall pick to being the 3rd. It all just depends upon the customization of your league. And then WUP is just the wait until pick. So if I go back and talk about that Ezekiel Elliott situation, if he was 6, according to your customized ADP, your wait until pick would be like 4 or 5. And then you would definitely want to get Ezekiel if he went to 6. But you can see the ADP is 3, so you're never going to get Zeke. He's going to go before you can get him. So the wait until pick for a sleeper might be different. So you might say, okay, Miles Sanders, his ADP is 12, and your custom ADP might say it's 5. So the WUP might be 11, 10 maybe. So once you get to about 11 or 10, you're going to pick up Miles Sanders, because you know he's really a 5. But that's not shown here. And one more thing, accurate depth chart. So you've got to take a look at this and say, what are the depth chart assumptions? So last year, this was really important for several players who had solid backups. So last year, Nick Chubb, he had a solid backup, and Kareem Hunt, nobody was sure if he was going to keep his position. Here's another player that was affected last year, Austin Eckler. Mel Gordon held out. So you need to know whether what are the assumptions for these particular values? Why is Austin Eckler at this position? What are you assuming? Are you assuming in last year's case that Gordon was going to come back? So there should be a depth chart somewhere on the site, and on the depth chart they should say their assumptions and whether or not those assumptions are tied into the cheat sheet. Otherwise, you're just shooting in the dark. You don't know what these values are based upon. That's about it. Overall, last year I gave ESPN a D+, I think, and they're going to get another D+. Um, and what ESPN is great at is they have a lot of uh, celebrity cheat sheets. So you'll come here, and celebrities are great, but they just have a one take. They're not an application. They can't give you advice tailored for you. And they might be entertaining, and many of them are, and they might tell you get this player, get that player, but that doesn't really apply to your league. So avoid celebrity cheat sheets unless you like to be entertained. And that's about it. The custom dollar value generator is, again, it's for auction leagues. And I think, yeah, I think you have to pay to get this actually. Yeah, you have to be an ESPN subscriber, but you punch in the numbers and they'll generate some values for you. It's a low value tool. And if you're interested more, you can find out about it here. Um, Not worth the money. And if you made it this far, please send an email to robocoach at FantasyFootballDraft.com and I will give you a free subscription to the site. This has been Dr. Robocoach. Please like and subscribe. Good luck this season.